So let's go over the new features that are being added for the next Torchlight Infinite season. So, number one, and the most big thing that they're adding is probably the overhaul of the crafting system. You can see some of this from their live stream here. So, there's two new systems of crafting. There's prototype production, which is what we're seeing here, and then there's targeted production. So here, if we look, you can see there's two lock symbols. So they lock two affixes on their gear. Ideally, you do it to two good ones. You lock max life and fizzes fire on these items, and then you can re-roll it for up to 4 total modifiers, and it will be random. So you can see it changes these two into these two. Lightning res and minion elemental damage from max life and cooldown recovery speed. So it can give you something better or worse. And then this expends plasticity on the gear. You can see the plasticity number here. You get a certain amount of it on each item. It lets you do those rerolls with those two locked in mods. Then once you run out of plasticity, you can no longer do the prototype crafting. So the targeted crafting is more similar to the old way, and it's for higher end gear, more expensive gear. So you'd prototype craft something first for like a budget gear or starting out on a craft, and then you would proceed to target process it. And you can see here, it is pretty similar to the old way. You just use the embers, same thing there, and it adds a single modifier. Then after you add the modifiers, you can add as many as you want to fill up the item, and then depending on what you get, you can, if you like it, you can keep it. If you don't like it, you want to go back, you can completely revert the item to its prototype base, where it would only have 4 affixes. So it's a little bit different than before, but still retains its roots in it. And it makes it so it's not going to be so easy to just get perfect gear and everything. It adds a little bit more variety, and it makes picking up gear more meaningful, because when you pick up better affix gear, then you're going to like, hey, I want to craft on this base. It's going to be more exciting than before, where you could take basically a blank item and craft 6 tier 1s. Now the crafting has more like meaning to it, and when you get that really good item, you're like, wow, I made this really good item. This next feature they're adding is something I think every game should have, and I'm like, this is really big props to the dev team for this, because I think it might be the first ARPG with this. But they're adding a replay system, so you can share your maps with other people after you complete them. And I believe you'll also be able to check it out on the leaderboard, maybe. I hope they do that as well. Imagine you're browsing the leaderboard, and you can see a build that looks interesting to you someone's doing. You want to see an actual gameplay of it, you can check out the replay. I hope you can do that on the leaderboard. I know they are adding a replay system that you can like share with other people, but I hope you can like peek in on other people's maps and leaderboard. That'd be really cool. And I believe the way they're doing this, it's not like an actual video. So an actual video would take up like huge amount of storage, right? So what they do is something similar to, if you ever played Source games with the Source engine, their like replays are not like video data, it's the input data of like what actually happens, and then it will go through it all again and like replay it essentially as you watch it. Essentially like actually playing again, it's not just a recording. Anyways, that's a big thumbs up for me. I'm really looking forward to that, especially as a content creator, but even as like just a normal player, that is a really big feature. An improvement being made next season is that they've changed the number of digits that damage can calculate with. What this means is that single hit damage can now exceed 2.1 billion. Now, this is it's pretty common limit in games. It's like the 32-bit integer or something. It's like 2.147 billion. But now they've switched some things around, and now it can go above that for one single hit. So if you got ultra DPS, this is a buff to you. Hero trades have been updated so that instead of just hitting the level and then unlocking them, now you hit the level and you will have a fight to go complete in order to unlock it. So you hit, let's say, level 80, and then you'll have to go do this fight and defeat it in order to get your next hero trait, adding another little sense of progression there instead of it just being a little button you click, and that's it. Trade House is continuing to have improvements made to it. Now you'll be able to search for repeated affixes, and what this means is if you have like a couple of the same affix on a single item, you can now search for repeated ones. So I think the main use case for this is for like the Infinity Belt, where you can roll the same thing a few times. Now you can search for that, and it helps you find the one you specifically want even more. Pack spirits will be able to be swapped and have certain presets next season that will allow you to swap them around based on your needs much easier. So you'll be able to swap a few at a time and have like certain presets for whatever you're wanting to do. For example, you have one with your loot buff ones, and then you have like an attack one, a defense one, etc. Different presets you could set up. Feeling stuck as a new player? Well, next season there's going to be a new player help tab where you can see some potential builds you might want to go, and it can also give you tips on mechanics of the game and things you might need to know in order to make it easier for you to put together your own builds at some point. Next season we'll have a guild system that you can create and manage your own guilds with your friends. That allows you to communicate with them easier in game, giving you like your own chat channel. And there will also be guild events that you can participate in to claim rewards from. Unfortunately, this does not mean they're adding multiplayer yet. They are still working on that, and hopefully we'll hear more about that soon. For those of you who use controllers next season, they are improving controller support, doing a few things such as adding better inventory support for controllers, and other cool features like if a valuable item drops, your controller can vibrate. Player profiles are being improved, so if you want to say go on the leaderboard and check out someone's gear and skills and their pack spirit setup, you now get more details from that, and it's been improved. That about wraps this up. If you're looking to try Torchlight Infinite in the new season, there will be a link in the description that will allow you to download it from their website, obviously. And I highly recommend you do try it. It is on May 9th, but the game is very, very solid, especially when you consider how new it is. And more things are just going to be added over time. ARPGs evolve very well with time, with more content adding. They're doing a really good 3-month season cycle here. The devs listen to feedback. Highly recommend you give the game a try.